The 15-Point Plan is part of the Win, Make, Give podcast network.
Welcome to the 15-Point Plan. My name's Chad Hyams, and I am joined by my partner, Jillene Snell. Hi, Jillene.
Hi, Chad. Good to see you.
And good to see you. And welcome, everybody, as we officially dive into the 15-Point Plan. On our last episode, you heard Ben walk us through the creation of the 15-Point Plan. He walked us through all the 15 points. Jillene gave us a lovely introduction to the two of us and to why we get the pleasure of being co-hosts.
He sure did.
And he set us up for this podcast. So we're going to do these 15 minutes. Where'd that number come from?
15 minutes? We just chose it because we wanted to respect your time as the listener.
Okay. And it's Jillene's attention span.
It might even be less.
Okay. So we are going to keep these to 15 minutes. You can be sure we might be under that, yet we'll do our best to never go over it unless we have an interview worthy of it.
Absolutely. So let's dive into our first one.
Okay, Jillene, what was number one when Ben gave us the 15-point plan?
Goals, Chad.
Goals, absolutely. And we're going to start talking about goals. Why? Well, because it's January. And everybody has set goals because it's the only time of the year, Jillene, that we can do it, right?
Maybe. No,
Okay.
Absolutely not. We'll talk about that a little more. But when I think of goals, I think of what's important to us and to you this year. That's what I think of when I think of a goal. Chad, what's one of yours for this year?
Oh my goodness. One of my goals for this year is to make this podcast a huge success.
That's a very good goal.
It's going to bring a lot of value, I believe, into the lives of thousands. So one of my major goals, I haven't figured out the metric to prove that I've accomplished it. But at this point, one of my major goals is to make this podcast a success. Jillene, what's one of the goals you've laid out for yourself for 2021?
You know, one of my health goals is really to have a healthy year through my nutrition, through my exercise, and a balance of those things through the 15-point plan. And I think in doing that, it will prevent any major health issues like pneumonia, getting the flu, other major health issues that can cause you to be down for a week or 2 weeks. That takes away from your family and your business and your life. And so that's probably my number one goal for this year.
Okay, we're going to challenge you to make those goals. Now, let's talk about, well, it's that time of year. So let's talk about resolutions, right? Let's talk about that because everybody's been creating theirs and all of that. Jillene, define resolution for me.
So the word resolution means the act of resolving or determining upon an action, course of action, method, or procedure. It's to be determined about something, to be resolved about something that you want in your life. It's to be firm about what's important to you.
You sound like Webster's Dictionary. Good job.
I do. And you know what? To me, personally, it means having clarity on what you want because no one else will determine that for you. No one's going to walk up to you with a clipboard that says, here's what you want out of your year, and we're clear about it. We have to have that date with ourselves to create that list or even just that one thing for ourselves.
So hold that thought about that date with ourselves. We're going to have to go on that date and hear a little bit more about it. Folks, I want you to understand this. The word resolution, that's just an intimidating sounding word.
It's pretty scary.
It really is, right? And it only comes up once a year where we talk about it.
And can I say, I watched a YouTube video where someone did this video on people's resolutions and asked them sort of on the spot at the beginning of January what their resolutions were for the year. And it was a lot of ums, kind of like I speak. And I didn't think about that yet. I don't know. And there was a lot of pausing. So it's interesting when you do put someone on the spot and ask them what their resolution is, what some of their responses are.
Interesting. So instead of a resolution, how about we get clarity on a goal? How about we just make a change? How about we have a commitment? Let's not use that word resolution, which is so intimidating, and replace it by something that, boy, we have an everyday conversation, Jillene.
And what we want to do is maybe instead of stopping something, we start something new.
Oh, and that's so much easier to do, isn't it? It's always so much easier to do something than not do something.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to not do a thing. It's always easy to do a thing. So don't give me a goal of I'm not going to do this. Give me a goal of I'm going to do this, which is the opposite of.
Absolutely.
Right? That way we can figure it out. Now, Jillene, I want to put you on the spot. I want to quiz you quickly with the resolutions in the air, with that horrid word and all of that. Can you name for me what you think maybe the top 2, 3, 4 resolutions are across our country each and every year?
I bet the audience could guess too. Number 1 is exercising more.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is saving money.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 is eating more healthily,
Mm-hmm.
so a healthy diet. And number 4 is losing weight. I actually thought losing weight was going to be number 1, but exercising more is number 1.
Yeah, isn't that interesting that if you look at the 4, you've got exercising, eating healthy, losing weight as 3 of the 4. They're all really one thing. It all just becomes that health concept, the other one being saving money in there. Now, here's the sad news, Jillene. It's sad, right? Studies have shown that only 8% of Americans who make a New Year's resolution keep it all year long. And over 80% of them don't even make it out of January.
That's pretty quick.
That's a lot of people giving up really quickly on a lot of things.
I would say that's been me over the years.
Interesting.
Absolutely. I've learned some very tough lessons by failing quickly. And so I've learned by that.
Okay. Now, you talked about this date with yourself earlier. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Well, I think as humans, we want to serve others and we want to help others. In reality, we need to help ourselves first. And I call that a date with ourselves. So culturally, we're forced into setting goals at the beginning of January, right? It's like culturally, that's when we set and we write them down in the resolutions. But really, if we have this date with ourselves at any moment, Chad, and figure out what's important to us, then we set aside the time, we think about why it's important to us, and then we make a plan from there.
Okay. I got to say, Jillene, my least favorite holiday of the year is New Year's Eve. It's my least favorite holiday of the year. One, emotional issues from being younger and divorced parents and all of that. I won't get into that on the podcast. Yet 2, I do not understand why we have to only set goals when someone decided we go from an old calendar to a new calendar. And heck, most of us are using the computer anyway. We're not even buying a new calendar anymore.
Right.
You can set goals any time of the year, yet as you say, the challenge comes with the pressure of January 1st and goal setting. So you are setting a date with yourself where you can remove the pressure from that so that you can set goals.
Absolutely, at any time. And I do think January 1st can be a fresh start. It's where the world is bringing awareness to you and what you want, and that's okay too. It can be any time throughout the year or January 1st. But really, the most important part is how do we do it and not fail? So
give us some tips, Jillene. How do we do it and not fail?
Well, when you have this date with yourself, you're putting it in writing. You're putting this list in writing or this one thing in writing. And then I think we need to be honest with ourselves about why that goal is important to us. And we can ask ourselves a few questions, Chad, that will help us know whether or not we're ready to get behind that goal and whether that goal is important to us.
Hang on right there. You just said ask ourselves a few questions. So, audience, push pause. Go grab paper and pen if you don't have one. Once you have one, start playing again. Jillene, give us a few of these questions that they can write down to go ask themselves.
Here we go. The first one is, how long have I wanted change in this area of my life? Chad, how exhausted am I at continuing to deal with this lack of change? What could I start in order to overcome what I'm wanting to stop?
Yeah, we talked about that, right? Start something new. Don't stop doing something. What can you replace it with? Okay.
What would an example of that be for you, Chad, or for someone else?
Instead of, I want to stop drinking soda, I'm going to drink more water.
Perfect example. And we're going to talk about hydration in a future podcast.
Yep. Keep going on these questions.
Am I willing to make this a lifestyle change for the indefinite future? If it takes 3 or more months of continuous effort to build the habit, will I be committed to this undertaking? That's been a tough one for me. And am I willing to go through pain now so I can live like I want later?
God, and so many people say yes to that and don't mean it? How do you know you really mean it?
I think you go through this entire list of questions to know whether or not you really mean it. I think it's the combination of all of them that gives you this time of self-reflection when you do have this date with yourself.
Okay. So emotions get in the way, right? How do we reprogram ourselves, Jillene, when it comes to these goals?
Most of the time we're setting our goals based on our emotions, which we know are fickle. And we think that willpower is going to get us through, and it's going to get us through until maybe February. So to avoid setting these goals emotionally, we A, go through that list of questions, and then B, maybe start to reprogram the environment around us.
Yeah, tell me more about that in the last few minutes here.
What we want to do is figure out how we could program the environment around us to support our goals. For example, if we wanted to drink less Starbucks, spend less money, then a couple things you could do there is you could delete the Starbucks app off your cell phone so you're not tempted to hit that order button and it's ready in 3 minutes for you to pick up very easily.
Okay.
Or maybe reprogram your route to the office or to the gym so that you don't stop at Starbucks.
Okay.
An example at home would be if you're looking to eat healthier and you have a roommate or partner who is bringing junk food into the house, you can't always control that. What you can ask is for them to get on your side and let them know about your mission and what you're doing. And you can ask them to hide it somewhere where you cannot find it. Spoken from experience.
There you go, right? Or have separate cabinets where they're allowed to put that stuff and you just have to stay out of it. It's harder, yet anything we can do to move into the right direction.
Absolutely. And so when we reprogram the environment around us, we're giving ourselves the right condition to do good work.
Okay, now one of the things we have promised you is we're going to give you actionable items on every one of our episodes. Now, we've already given you a few, right? We've already talked about these great questions with the date with yourself to really decide if your goals can go somewhere. One I'm going to challenge you to do is write your goals every day. It's simple sounding. It's not as simple to do to take 30 seconds and rewrite your goal every day, because then you're going to be more conscious of it. And it's going to be that daily activity that you can write it every day, work towards your goal every day, and then earn that check mark on the 15-point tracker.
Absolutely. And Chad, since we started talking about this, I've been doing it every day. And it's interesting how things are starting to change. The universe starts to manifest those things almost immediately.
Give us an example of what's been happening as we close out this episode with this action step for them.
You know, when you put your goals in writing once a year and you refer back to them once a year, that's not passion, that's not clarity around what you want. And when you write them every day, they become more and more important to you, and your actions fall in line with that. For instance, exercise, Chad. I have a Peloton.
Yes, you do.
And I will write down my workout schedule for the week, which is a goal. And I plan out 1 week at a time. So I'm just going to put on 3 Peloton or 5 Peloton exercises and then follow through with that. And it's a nice, simple step, but it reminds me every day when I'm writing it down. And I know I'm going to bend my day around what I wrote.
Okay. So Jillene, we're going to tell them, have a date with themselves to plan their goals out of an emotional state. Reprogram things that need to be reprogrammed, what your environment, whether that's your path, whether that's an app you have on the phone, whatever it is. And we're going to challenge them to once a day start their day by writing down their new goals. We're giving them 3 action items, and we told them we'd only give them 1. Pick one. Go on that date with yourself. Start reprogramming yourself, or start writing your goals every day. You'll end up doing all 3 of them. But we're going to challenge you to do one of those on the 15-point plan.
Just remember, you're the most important person in your life. Start with yourself and take action today, because if you decide to take action today, you actually care very much about what you're doing. If you decide to take action tomorrow, you do care, you just care less. So the point is to take action today on those 3 things.
Awesome. And join us on Facebook, facebook.com/group/WinMakeGive, because we are a proud member of the Win, Make, Give podcast network. We're going to be asking you some questions about those goals and about that tracker. Come and join us on that group. And as always, you can get that tracker downloaded at the15pointplan.com. Until the next time, we hope this episode ups your energy and takes you to a new level.
The opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the hosts and guests. Speak with your doctor before starting any diet or exercise program.